Hello, we're back.
Uh,
We're just discussing James Earl Ray. No, I'm sorry, James Arthur Ray's.
Yeah, you let that. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
His moon. What about it?
Well, his natal moon is in Sagittarius, which I said is. It can have a guru, visionary, mythically, and mythically, the Sagittarius thing is the ninth house, and the gods don't fool around in the myths. They say you're dead, or you're this, or you're that. So he had his moon was in Sagittarius, his natal moon. Now, when I look at a chart and I see that there are 4 things tenanted in one house, and it's the 10th house, which is your own business in life.
Yeah.
So he has the Sun in Sagittarius, and then he has Saturn in Sagittarius in between, and then he has the Moon in Sagittarius, and then he has Mercury in Sagittarius, which is a charismatic speaker. Now, you really take very seriously when you look at your life chart and you see that you have a Sun, Saturn in between the Moon. Because Saturn will get you. Saturn is where you have the toughest lesson. Saturn is the growing up point. Saturn, one of the definitions is responsibility. And that is the ability to respond and make the right choice in situations. And if you don't make that right choice in situations, then it's a very hard, difficult lesson. Now, the moon goes through each sign every 2.5 years. It goes around the chart. So his moon was in Scorpio, his progressed secondary moon, which is a little complicated. The moon moves right away. And so his lessons, the moon in Scorpio lessons are life and death lessons. I mean, they are, and it's Womel, it's the moon. And so he had the moon by progression in Scorpio, and not only that, his progressed Jupiter, Neptune, the nodes, and the moon were all in Scorpio at this time that this happened. So you go to his natal chart and you go Jupiter in Libra, right on the gestation point, with Neptune on the other side and Mars in Scorpio. Mars and Neptune in Scorpio does mean usually that somebody is going to deal with some kind of life and death process in their lifetime. Whether it be grief, whether it be what this is, but this is a Sagittarius. And the Sagittarius lessons are always bigger. They're bigger. A story about a Sagittarius is they reach for the star, and when they get that star, it's not good enough. And they go higher. They want the moon, and they go higher, and they want higher. So as high as they get, and that's as hard as they fall.
Yeah.
Back to Earth. He also, that has not been talked about, had a grand trine in fire, and I call that a Gandhi grand trine. It's 120 degrees lines to all the fire signs. It means basically when you get inspired, when you get into this fireplace, when you get into this thing, it's like an easy flow, and you get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
And then Uranus in Leo, in one part of it, retrograde, it just blew up.
Right.
It blew up in this particular situation. So, and Mercury in Sagittarius, it didn't seem that with the language that he was using, as it is being told from the people inside, as much as they could hear him, because who knows, they were in a state of barely, of trying to stay alive.
Right.
But the Mercury in Sagittarius thing, that, in neurolinguistics, you have, kinesthetic, auditory, and visual. And so it was black in there. So visual contact, that part of the representational system is taken away.
Yeah, yeah.
And because it's all black. So then you're only depending on auditory, right, the voice, and the feelings in kinesthetic, and these people were out of their bodies almost.
Yes.
So this was a mere thread that he was fooling around with inside this sweat lodge. So then when you look at the chart of the sweat lodge at 3 o'clock on the entrance, what we call excitation is when something is exciting something in somebody's chart.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I have the moon in Gemini in the 4th house, or that's what was in the sweat lodge, but if you have the moon in Scorpio in the 4th house, that's still an excitation.
Yeah.
It means it lives in the same house.
Mm-hmm.
It may be different lessons. Well, in this chart, you look, and it's almost impossible that the Aquarius ascendant, where the entrance was exactly on top of James Arthur Ray's chart. Mm-hmm. So we have Aquarius.
Okay.
And he has Aquarius Chiron, which is the key to something. And basically here, it was a key to life and death experience or the other realm experience. And then Jupiter in Aquarius, Jupiter rules all of his Sagittarius. And again, in the 1st house, it's retrograde, and Aquarius is like a lightning bolt.
Mm-hmm.
These people stepped over. And you have Chiron over here in Aquarius that's on his natal Aquarius, and Neptune, which rules the other world.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about they're crawling into, the uterus space that is the closest thing, the uterus and the death pattern, the closest thing to the other world.
Yeah.
And they're already in a spiritual Sagittarius state, and he's talking to them in a Mercury Sagittarius state. Well, they left. They went out. And the midheaven here is in Scorpio, so they went out through the Scorpio, and his midheaven is Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
And Scorpio is transformation, transcendence, the life and death process.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of them died.
So in other words, just not in other words, but that every sign on each cusp of the house is exact of the Angel Valley Retreat and of James Arthur Ray's chart are almost the same all around the chart.
Yes. The ascendant's in Aquarius, and then you look at Pisces. Pisces is on the 2nd house cusp, and Uranus is in Pisces right now, retrograde. So, all of these things in the 1st and 2nd house right now are retrograde, and retrograde means we just don't know everything.
No, we don't. We certainly don't.
Retrograde means this may have happened in many lifetimes for these people. This was a group of people that in some way were connected and went in there, and I'm sure their humanness in them doesn't know, but they were connected in some way to set out and do this process, and it elevated, and when anything becomes this newsworthy and the internet picks it up like this, there is some deep part of ourselves that we're looking at.
James Arthur Ray was a teacher to many people, and the fact that he was one of the teachers of The Secret is, of course, causing a lot of controversy, and people are trying to define The Secret based on the fact that James Arthur Ray had this happen to him and had that happen to all those people. But
well, James Arthur Ray, one of the secrets that you say is you bring in what you're focusing on.
Yeah.
And so somehow, if you bring in that you're focusing on the mythical figure of Christ or God, mainly the great martyrs of our time, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because let's look at Michael Jackson. We're also looking at Michael Jackson with the Jupiter-Neptune in his natal chart, which is Jupiter-Neptune exactly took him out.
Yeah.
And he went out in something that he loved. But Neptune is about film, and it's on film. And so
it is?
Yes. Well, and this is it. It's the whole.
Okay, hang on.
Process.